Hi guys, Sandra here from Creating Spain, and today I am going to be using my my hand die cutting machine to actually die cut, which is most unusual for me. And the reason for this is I decided to make a video pretending that I don't have my silver bullet. I am going to be stuck to the dies that I have. Now, when I bought this machine, and I think it was a couple of years ago now, the reason I got it is for embossing, not for die cutting. And so it came with this one set of dies included with the machine. So how to do these sorts of corners? Well, the secret of it is to take your card piece and on the wrong side, mark out the lines where you do not want it to go past. I think that one might do it quite nicely, like so. So you then need a piece of tape. Now, normally I would use washi tape. I wanted to cut this fancy edge here. So I'm going to stick it in place. What I'm going to do now is to line up my sandwich without anything in it. And I'm going to just push it through manually, like so. It's not on a hard pressure, so it will do it quite easily. And then I'm going to look at the edge that I have got my die on and make sure that's facing towards me. And I'm just going to slip it between these plates, like so, making sure I go no further in than the line that I drew across. Now, I need to make sure that it's over as far as possible so that I can actually get this through, because I've got a relatively narrow bed. And then all I'm going to do is to wind it backwards, and that's just made the cut, and I can wind it forwards again. Pull it out, and of course it's cut the edge where I wanted it cut. Now, I have a die here which is actually way too big for me to use normally. It's bigger than an A6 card, and I really don't do A5 cards very often. And if I did, I probably wouldn't be using this on it anyway. So what I've done is I have marked halfway across on either side, and I'm going to get my very handy hubby to actually cut this metal die in half. That way I will have a die that looks like part of a cloud maybe, or I could use that to cut a fancy edge. It's going to be far more useful for me to have it in two pieces. So I've got them in different sizes, and if I layer them up like this, it's not overly exciting. But what I'm going to do is use the smaller one and the bigger one, and I'm going to make a flower from it. I have a tatty piece of craft foam. It's one of the thicker ones. And I have my two pieces that I've cut out. And if I was going to do this, normally for a card, I would colour it in. I would probably either use my blending tools, or I would possibly get my airbrush out to do it. Now, I've got some modelling tools here. This is just a selection of ones that I've got. They're designed for things like sugarwork and clay modelling, all that sort of thing. Now, these as flat pieces are very dull, very uninteresting. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to work them over with a ball tool to distress them. This stops them from looking so perfectly flat, so yeah, boring. Basically, boring. If you want to, of course, you could actually cut into it to make petals properly. I have some of these which are gorgeous. I've not used any yet, as you can see, but I'll show you what it's like to come out like. Now, the way to see what things are going to come out like, because these are on transparent pieces in the first place, instead of taking it off and risk wasting it because you've taken the glue off the back, just cut it off onto its actual cellophane, and then you can see what it would look like when it's put into the centre of the flower. I also have a piece of the same embroidery backing, which has been coloured in greens and yellows. It was in my stash of things to use. So what I'm going to do with this is to make some leaf type things, again with the same die cut. So I lay down the die on the piece of paper or fabric, whatever it is that I want to cut. And that's just going to go through the die cutter. Then when that comes out, that has been cut. Just take the same piece and I can put it there, and this is going to give me the leaf shape. Now obviously you can play around with different things like this to see what results you're going to get, but that's given me quite a nice leaf. Take the same one and just offset it a little bit, trim either end. So I'm going to do a card using these techniques and not using my silver bullet, and I'll come back and show you the result when I've finished. This is the finished card. I've decided not to put a sentiment on it at the moment. If I was going to put a sentiment, I would probably have put the flowers a bit further up the card and then put the sentiment on the bottom. I have plenty of ideas on this channel, including about 40 videos on making your own polymer stamps.